very famous Spanish ants. Trancas y barrancas? It was fun. And they gave me a tranca and a barranca that I could take back to the United States. So, excellent. Before I start, there's some people here that I would like to thank. They are very important to me, dear to my heart, and they are also Spanish. So I'm going to try to thank them in Spanish. A ver lo que pasa. Buenas tardes. Estoy muy contento de estar en España de nuevo, un país en el que he vivido y al que llevo siempre en mi corazón. En primer lugar, quisiera dar las gracias a los responsables del Teatro Goya por acogernos y también a Editorial Planeta, Empúries y a José Manuel Lara Bosch, presidente del grupo. Mi nueva novela no hablaría esta querida lengua de no ser por el trabajo y entusiasmo de una serie de personas que lo han hecho posible. Jesús Barenas, director general, Xavier Malafré, director general, Carlos Revés, director editorial, Esther Pujo, directora editorial, Marcela Serras, directora adjunta, Eugenia Brogi, editora, Ariadna Rivera, editora, Berta Noy, mi antigua editora, Aleix Montoto y Esther Rock, mis traductores, Laura Frank, Marc Rocamora, Xavier Gafarot, lo siento Xavier, Gafarot, y Gloria Gas, directores de comunicación y de marketing, y a todo su gran equipo, gracias. También quiero agradecer el esfuerzo de los equipos editoriales y de marketing de las filiales de Planeta en el continente americano. Y naturalmente no puedo dejar de mencionar el equipo de ventas y especialmente a los libreros. Gracias, libreros. Finalmente quisiera dar las gracias a mis agentes literarias Heidi Lang y aquí en España Mónica Martín. Todos y cada uno de ellos han llevado Inferno a vuestras manos y por eso estoy muy, muy agradecido. Gracias. Very hard. Ahora en inglés. Tengo una nota aquí que dice, habla muy despacio para el traductor. So, here we go. When I was 5 years old, my mom helped me write and publish my very first book. I dictated, she transcribed. We did a print run of one with a cardboard cover and a 2-hole punch binding. I titled this thriller, The Giraffe, the Pig, and the Pants on Fire. And I still have it. Here it is. I brought it with me all the way to Spain. As the title suggests, it's a blend of Orwellian allegory and the surrealism of Borges. Very serious work. And for the next half hour, I thought I would just read from this for you. On the day that I first published The Giraffe, the Pig, and the Pants on Fire, I was hooked. I wrote nonstop in elementary school, in college, in university, and I feel very fortunate to have been able to continue writing later in life. A bit to my surprise, however, some of the books I've written have received some odd reactions from people. Almost daily, some stranger will come up to me and ask, "What happened to you as a child? Did some priest drop you on your head at your baptism? Did God not answer your boyhood prayers?" Now, I hate to admit this here in mixed company, but the people who are guilty for my confused state about religion are my parents. They are not here tonight to defend themselves, so I am going to attack. As many of you know, I've written a lot about the battle between science and religion. Since the days of Galileo and the Inquisition, science and religion have both been vying to be that infallible source from which we draw our truth. Nowadays, some of us find our miracles in the pages of Holy Scripture, and some of us find our miracles in the pages of scientific textbooks. Unfortunately, I grew up the son of a church organist and a math teacher. So I was confused from day one. When I was a child, my mother was not only a church organist, she was the choir director. And what that meant is there was no escaping Sunday church. No escape. I didn't mind church. I actually liked it. I liked the music. I liked the people. And our church had free donuts, which I liked. But as a kid, all those hours in the house of God had a powerful effect on me. Church is very powerful stuff when you're a kid. Thundering pipe organs, the smell of incense, the tolling of huge bells, the magic of a candlelight Christmas service. Not to mention, in my case, watching my own mother conduct a big choir singing, "A Mighty Fortress is Our God," or "Onward, Christian Soldiers." So this reassuring and joyful world became my reality as a child. It never dawned on me to question any of it. I didn't question the virgin birth, or Noah's Ark, Moses and the Ten Commandments, or the resurrection. It was all absolute fact. It had to be. All of the adults in the room agreed that it was fact, including my own mother. I should add here that my mother was not shy about her Christianity. For years as I grew up, she drove me to soccer practice in a bright red Volvo with a license plate in Latin. And I have this license plate here. I brought it for you tonight. This is my mother's license plate. Here it is. Kyrie. Kyrie. I only wish I had been present at the New Hampshire Department of Motor Vehicles the day my mother explained to the puzzled attendant that she had selected Kyrie because it was the Latin transliteration of the vocative case for the Greek word for Lord, and it was therefore the most common word in the Byzantine Rite Christian liturgy. So, I'm sure he was very confused. So, with her deep sense of religion, her Kyrie license plate, and her uncanny resemblance to a character on a popular American TV show, my mom became affectionately known as the church lady. Let me assure you, the power of the church lady was undeniable. In the summers when my siblings and I were not attending church or church camp, the Brown family lived in a little summer cabin in the White Mountains on a very quiet lake. My mom had this great idea that rather than going to the local church, we would use as our church the beautiful woodland setting around us, and we would have our own little family services. So on Sunday mornings, my parents, my sister, my little brother, and I would get in a pair of canoes, and we would paddle out into the lake, find a deserted spot, we'd tie the boats together, and we would float as a family. We would read scriptures, sing hymns, and give thanks to God for the blessings bestowed upon us. Admittedly, a very nice idea. The problem was that I was 10 years old, and these floating church services were excruciatingly boring. There was no pipe organ, there was no choir, and above all, there were no donuts. So when I complained to the church lady about the lack of donuts, she brought along little baggies of homemade granola. Not a good trade. Early one Sunday morning, I was dreading what was to come, and I lay in bed, and I prayed to God. And I asked God how to make these boring services more interesting. And God spoke to me. He said, "Bring a fishing rod." Now, this seemed perfectly logical to me, It's not like I was going to cast in the middle of the Lord's Prayer. I was just going to troll maybe a little bit during the readings, very respectful. My mom, however, felt it was disrespectful for me to fish during church. So I cleverly argued that if God didn't want me to fish, he would not have made fish so delicious. I lost that battle. My mom ended up arguing that Sunday was a day of rest and that there would be no fishing. I later got the last word by taking the day of rest argument, and I boycotted paddling all the way home. So, there you have a snapshot of growing up with a church lady. Now, concurrent with my mother's religious influence, I had my dad, who was equally attentive and enthusiastic about his passions and his beliefs, which were more scientific in nature. My father, a math teacher, as well as a math textbook author, and by the way, you use his textbooks here in Spain, he also revered the beauty and majesty of the world, but he tended to see it through a much different lens. When I was a kid, he would take me out at night and we'd look up at the billions of stars in the heavens and we'd talk about space, the universe, and the concept of infinity. Infinity, we agreed, was impossible to imagine. And yet, if the universe were not infinite, then what did the end of the universe look like? A big brick wall in space? A sign that said, no matter beyond this point? As a kid, these were the thoughts that kept me awake at night. Whenever there was a lunar eclipse, my dad would prepare me by pulling out a soccer ball, a tennis ball, and a flashlight. And he would reenact the moon moving around the earth and casting a shadow. And then there was math. For my father, everywhere there was math. At dinner time, baby carrots were an opportunity to teach us about conic sections. We learned that depending on how you cut your carrot, you could create a cross-section that was a circle, an ellipse, a parabola, or if you were really good with your knife, you could create the holy grail of all dinner time carrot cuts, the hyperbola. I did that once. A very exciting night. My parents did not permit junk food. We did not go out for pizza very often. But when we did, my father would gather us around the big pizza pie, and that's pie, P-I, of course, for my father. And he would teach us about the degrees of arc, areas of circles, diameters. I cannot tell you how embarrassing it was to stand in line at Romeo's Pizza with my father and his enormous calculator while he tried to figure out, while he calculated whether it was more cost-effective to buy a large, 2 mediums, a large and a small, and freeze the leftovers for tomorrow. Very embarrassing. And this is the same guy who wrote the international best-selling textbook, Advanced Mathematics. By the way, my father's license plate when I was growing up, I brought that one too. Here it is, metric. I brought these a long way for you.